Picture a white sand beach on the Caribbean Sea. Now look up and see a snow-capped mountain rising just miles away. Or imagine cruising down a quiet South American river and suddenly coming face to face with a herd of wild African hippos. This is Colombia, a country that breaks every rule of geography in the best possible way. Here are 15 incredible facts about Colombia. Colombia is the only country in South America touching two different oceans. One coast faces the Pacific Ocean. The other faces the Caribbean Sea. The Caribbean side feels like a postcard. Calm, clear water, bright coral reefs, busy beach towns, soft white sand. The Pacific side tells a completely different story. It is wild. It is soaked in rain almost every day. Thick jungle spills straight into the sea. Humpback whales come here every year to breed. Some of the last untouched mangroves on Earth grow along this coast. One country, two oceans, two totally different worlds. Deep in the Sierra de la Macarena, a river seems to paint itself. Locals call it Caño Cristales. Some call it the liquid rainbow. For a short window each year, between the wet season and the dry season, something strange happens. The clear river turns into a flowing wall of color. The cause is a tiny plant called Macarenia clavigera. When the water level and the sunlight line up just right, the plant blooms. Red, yellow, green, black and blue spread across the riverbed. Because the ecosystem is so fragile, visitors are checked before entering. No sunscreen, no insect repellent, nothing that could harm the plant. It is one rule, protecting one of the most beautiful rivers on the planet. High in the Andes sits a valley that looks like it belongs on another planet. This is the Cocora Valley. Its most famous resident is the wax palm, Colombia's national tree. It breaks every expectation of what a palm tree should look like. No beach, no sway, just height. These palms can grow up to 60 meters tall. A thin tuft of fronds sits at the very top, brushing the low clouds. In the past, people harvested the tree's wax to make candles. That nearly wipes the species out. Today, the trees are protected, and hikers walk beneath them every day. Colombia covers less than 1% of the Earth's surface, yet it holds one of the richest concentrations of life on the planet. It ranks as the second most biodiverse country on Earth, behind only Brazil. Brazil is more than 7 times larger. Colombia's mix of rainforest, mountains, plains, and desert makes this possible. About 10% of the world's known mammal species live here. Colombia also holds the world record for bird diversity. Over 1,900 different bird species call it home. More species than any other country on Earth, from toucans to harpy eagles. Countless orchids and amphibians live in these same forests. For wildlife, Colombia is simply one of the safest places left to exist. Most tall mountain ranges sit deep inland. Colombia's Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta breaks that rule completely. It rises directly from the edge of the Caribbean Sea. In under 26 miles, the land climbs from sea level to snow. Two peaks, Pico Cristobal Colón and Pico Simón Bolívar, rise above 5,700 meters. A hiker climbing from the coast would pass through nearly every climate zone on the planet. Hot, dry scrubland near the shore, cool, damp cloud forest halfway up, freezing alpine tundra at the top. All of it packed into a single mountain range, without ever leaving the coast. Colombia's name honors the explorer Christopher Columbus. But Columbus never once set foot on the land that carries his name. His voyages passed through the Caribbean and Central America instead. It was 2 of his former crewmates, Alonso de Ojeda and Rodrigo de Bastidas, who reached this coast in 1499. They were the ones who claimed it for Spain. Centuries later, the revolutionary leader Simón Bolívar chose the name Colombia. He used it to represent a dream of one unified South American nation, a country named after a man who only ever knew it by reputation. Hidden beneath thick jungle in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta lies a forgotten city. Its name is Ciudad Perdida, the lost city. It was built by the Tairona people around 800 years after the birth of Christ. That makes it roughly 650 years older than Peru's Machu Picchu. Unlike the dry stone of the Inca, this city was built to survive the jungle. More than 160 stone terraces, plazas, and staircases were carved directly into the slope. It served as a major hub for the Tairona people until the Spanish conquest arrived. After that, the jungle swallowed it whole for over 400 years. It was only rediscovered in the 1970s. Reaching it today still requires a multi-day trek through dense wilderness. Deep in the Colombian Amazon, scientists found something extraordinary: an 8-mile-long cliff covered in thousands of ancient paintings. Some of the art is estimated to be 12,500 years old. It shows the earliest people to reach the Amazon basin. The paintings depict animals that no longer exist anywhere on Earth. Giant ground sloths, mastodons, ancient horses, Ice Age llamas. Handprints and geometric patterns fill the spaces between the animals. It is one of the largest windows we have into how early humans saw their world. In the early 1800s, Colombia became the center of a bold experiment. Simón Bolívar led the creation of a massive new republic called Gran Colombia. Founded in 1819, it stretched across what is now Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and Panama. Its capital sat in Bogotá. Bolívar dreamed of one powerful nation, able to rival the empires of Europe. But the terrain worked against him. Deep mountains, long distances, and political rivalries made it impossible to govern. Just over a decade later, in 1830, the Union collapsed. It split into the separate countries we know today. Colombia sits at the exact hinge between two continents. Long ago, this made it a critical passage for early human migration. Early travelers crossing from Central America had to pass through the Darien Gap. From there, Colombia's rivers and mountains forced them to split apart. Some followed river valleys up into the high Andes, eventually laying the foundation for cultures like the Inca. Others moved into the humid lowlands of the Amazon, and some continued down along the Pacific coast. Colombia's geography did more than divide land. It shaped the spread of an entire continent's people. Bogotá should be a hot tropical city. It sits just 4 degrees north of the equator. But it also sits 2,640 meters above sea level. That altitude gives the city a permanent spring-like climate. Weather here can shift from sunshine to cold rain within minutes. The thin air can leave newcomers out of breath. Warm coats and scarves are a normal sight in a country famous for tropical heat. In Bogotá, altitude overrules latitude completely. Look at a map of Colombia, and the eastern half looks enormous. It holds the vast Orinoco Plains and a huge stretch of Amazon rainforest. Together, they cover more than half the country's total land. Yet over 80% of Colombians live in the western half, packed into mountain valleys and along the Caribbean coast. The east floods heavily during the rainy season, and its jungle is brutally difficult to build through. It remains one of the largest untouched wild frontiers left on the continent. As the Andes enter Colombia, they split into 3 separate mountain chains. Deep valleys separate each range from the next. Before modern roads and plains, crossing these mountains was slow and dangerous. So cities and regions grew up in isolation from each other for centuries. In the mountains around Medellin, a close, hard-working culture formed, with its own slang. On the Caribbean coast, a livelier, more open culture developed instead, shaped strongly by Afro-Caribbean heritage and centuries of maritime trade. Different accents, different food, different ways of life, all shaped by mountains that once made neighbors into strangers. Colombia is the world's 3rd largest coffee exporter. Its coffee region is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It sits on the steep slopes of the Central Andes. That location gives it everything Arabica beans need to thrive. High altitude, steady equatorial sunlight, heavy rainfall, and deep volcanic soil. The slopes are too steep for large machinery, so nearly every bean is picked by hand, one cherry at a time. That slow, careful process is exactly why the flavor stands out. The strangest fact on this list starts with one man's private zoo. In the 1980s, drug lord Pablo Escobar built an estate called Hacienda Nápoles. He illegally imported exotic animals from around the world, including 4 African hippos. After Escobar's death, authorities seized the property. Most animals were relocated elsewhere, but the hippos were simply left behind. With no natural predators and a perfect climate, they thrived. Today, that herd has grown to well over 100 animals. It is now the largest wild hippo population outside of Africa. Conservationists are now working to manage and relocate them to protect the local ecosystem. Colombia manages to fit almost everything into one small stretch of land. 2 oceans, a river that changes color, the tallest palms on earth, even wild hippos. It is proof that geography can shape not just a landscape, but an entire identity. Thanks for watching.